Welcome, everyone. Today is Tuesday, July 21st, and we will call this meeting to order, started by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hamilton.
Heavenly Father, we thank you now for your grace and your mercy. Father, now we ask you for your wisdom so we may be wise enough to make decisions that are fruitful to our community. Father, I ask that you bless all that is here. Father, I ask that you give them the same civility that require us to be peaceful, be respectful, and Father, these blessings we ask in your only Son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay, up first we'll have the adoption of the minutes. This will be the regular meeting minutes of June 9th.
Sure.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. We're going to be trading up a lot tonight.
Yes, yeah, y'all have to stay. All right, we have no presentations or celebrations tonight, so we're going to start out with our public comment. And up first, we will have Mr. Bob Creeman.
And we need to do the
Hyman Creeman?
Mayor, if you
During
would.
public comment, each speaker is limited to a total of 3 minutes per meeting, regardless of whether the person is speaking on their own behalf or as an agent for others. Meeting attendees may not donate, transfer, yield, or give all or any portion of their speaking time to another person. All public comments are to be conducted from the podium and directed to the town council as a whole and not to any member thereof. All speakers shall be mindful and respectful of those participating in or present at the meeting. Speakers shall be expected to be civil in their language and shall refrain from comment or behavior that involves disorderly speech or action, name-calling, personal attacks, threats, obscene or indecent remarks, and/or disruptive actions. All speakers shall confine their comments to issues under the jurisdiction of the town council. Speakers shall not use the public comment period to promote or advertise awards, businesses, services, goods, or candidates for public office. Any speaker that violates these rules and protocols for public comment may be ruled out of order by the presiding officer. Any person whose comments have been ruled out of order shall immediately cease and desist from further improper comments. The refusal of an individual to desist from further improper comments may subject the individual to removal from the meeting and/or a citation under Section 2-49 of the Town Code.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bob Cremian. I'm based here in Beaufort County as a project manager for the South Carolina Coastal Conservation League, which is a 501c3 that advocates to protect the natural environment of South Carolina's coast for the benefit of all. We envision a South Carolina coast where wildlife thrives, air and water are clean, and the natural landscapes are protected for generations to come. I'm here to ask for this council and the town of Bluffton to take up and hopefully adopt an updated plastics ordinance that Beaufort County has already adopted earlier this summer. Beaufort County Council voted to pass an updated plastic ordinance that establishes a framework to regulate plastic bags, eliminate polystyrene foam, like styrofoam, in to-go products, and make carryout cutlery and plastic straws available upon request. The 2018 plastic ordinance banned thin plastic bags countywide, which is still in place now, but allowed retailers to distribute thicker plastic bags labeled as reusable, which have been proven to indeed not be reusable and actually cause more harm to the environment. The original ordinance also lacked restrictions on styrofoam cups and plastic utensils. Specifically, this revised ordinance will prohibit thick and thin plastic bags, eliminate polystyrene foam products, and make carryout cutlery and plastic straws available by customer request only. Shoppers can still bring their own plastic bags if they choose, and plastic wrap remains legal for raw meats, seafood, and loose produce to meet food safety standards. These changes will help to improve the longevity of our landfills and keep our storm drains flowing, reduce waste entering the environment and roadside litter, mitigate microplastics, which improves the health of people and wildlife, and aligns our region with policies already adopted in the Charleston area. For this ordinance to take effect, however, though, each municipality wholly within Beaufort County, which includes Beaufort, Port Royal, Bluffton, and Hilton Head, needs to adopt the same or substantially similar language outlined in the county's ordinance. Once each municipality adopts that ordinance, the county and the municipalities have 8 months to transition to this new ordinance. And this ordinance didn't come out of nowhere. It's actually been years in the process of making this. 2 surveys drew responses from more than 6,000 residents and 138 businesses across the county and including in Bluffton, showing the strongest overall support for banning styrofoam cups and containers. Residents also favored plastic ban by 4-to-1 margin, with businesses backing it 2-to-1. Plastic straws and cutlery were a little more split, so that's why it's available upon request only, not outright banned. So recognizing this change is something local shop owners would need to adjust to, Beaufort County actually downgraded a violation of this ordinance from criminal misdemeanors to civil infractions. So to keep that in mind. We're hopeful that all municipalities will update their plastic policies to align with the county's ordinance, further protecting the region we all call home. And I encourage Bluffton to be a leading municipality in this effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Jack Shearer.
Jack Shearer, 8 Crossings Boulevard, Pinecrest Community. I'm here today to consider our opposition to any kind of development to the golf course. I'm aware that the POA has been asked if they have any interest in acquiring the golf course with a particular caveat. Any purchase by HOA would have to include an agreement by HOA not to object to its development plan. I also heard the course is considering including a sale to unrelated parties, the sale of driving range only, and other development alternatives. Last year, the golf course sent a survey as a scare tactic that more than 35% of our home values would decrease. As you've heard for months, we've been here for months, 3 surveys resulted in 93% or more of the POA are opposing any kind of development on the golf course. We know for a fact that the golf course has turned down multiple offers since 2023 to purchase the course in its entirety. As a resident, we had a golf course, a clubhouse, a driving range. It was a place for us to gather and for our wonderful community. If you lived in Pinecrest, would you like the following? Boom. All of a sudden, you have construction fences, heavy equipment, dust, mud, loud noises for several months. We lose the driving range, potentially the clubhouse and golf course. After several months of construction, we have an eyesore. If you lived here, would you like the following? 360 apartments, 628 parking spaces, a large school performing arts center, or a church parking lot. Would you like your annual fees increased for security coverage? Traffic gets worse. We already have our private roads being utilized as a cut-through to and from school and work. Various motorized vehicle class types increase on our roads from non-residents. So we are hoping the town council takes this into consideration and continue to oppose any kind of development to the golf course. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, up next we have
Ridley Barnhill. Do I introduce myself?
Pardon me?
Do I introduce myself or am I just good
Yes,
to go?
please state your name, your address, where you live.
I'm Brentley Barnhill. I live at 1071 South Innovation Drive. And today I come here because, council members, there's a piece of surveillance technology spreading across this country, and it's arrived here in Bluffton. You've probably seen the cameras around the corners, but what you may not know is that city after city, this same company has been caught sharing data with the federal agencies outside of police departments without the regard for the local government, as they never approved it. Over 600,000 unauthorized searches in California, in one city alone. This wasn't a hypothetical. It's already happening, and dozens of cities have trusted it before we have. Today I come to say, Flock is not accountable for what it says. We have 3 documented lies to councils. In Waukesha, Wisconsin, the council approved Flock in a contracting meeting. The very next morning, the city staff learned that Flock had misrepresented material facts to them during that same approval process, forcing the council to reconvene the very next day to deal with what they just learned. Another incident in Mountain View, California, where statewide lookup setting had already been silently active on 29 of the city's 30 cameras since installation. Without the police department's knowledge, over 12 months, more than 250 agencies had never signed a data sharing agreement with the city, and they ran an estimated 600,000 unauthorized searches. This isn't a question of whether Flock's technology works. It's a question of whether or not this company's representations to an elected officials can be trusted enough behind a city contract. Multiple cities have found out after signing that the sharing defaults were not what they were told initially. The contract language itself is the problem, and its misuse is secondary. The ACLU of Massachusetts found that buried in the template's language, it stated that even when a police department restricts data access to its own officers, Flock's template agrees to give the company the rights to disclose that the department's data can be spread to law enforcement nationwide and to federal agencies for investigative purposes. Local restrictions settings do not override this, no matter what was happening in the council. Another case in Hillsborough, North Carolina, where it ended its relationship with Flock, specifically because the town leaders were flagged with contract language that could be read as allowing Flock to disclose data to any government entity or third party if the company had a good faith belief disclosure. But this disclosure was not warranted, a standard that the company itself gets to define. Further, with the recent ongoings of ICE and people not liking what they're going on about, capturing illegal immigrants, they use this without authorization from the local cities in California. Flock's 100,000 cameras network has routed local police data to ICE and other federal agencies without authorization of the city's knowledge or consent, which approximates cause. I'll leave the rest in writing.
Thank you.
Where should I put this?
Okay, up next, we have communications from
All three of us up here.
Mr. Wood.
I'm good, Mayor.
I have no gift to bring.
Well, I just got off vacation, so I was supposed to be at this meeting, but since we were short last week, we're here today and we're gonna get it done, so.
Glad to be back on the job. Everything is good. So up first here on our formal agenda items, we're going to have consideration of an ordinance or certain amendments to Bluffton's. No. Did I skip something? Yeah. In the workshop agenda items, we have wayfinding master planning study to the July workshop agenda. CJ Wilson, Sky Design.
I want to introduce him.
Yeah.
For them. And,
Thank you, Pinecrest.
See you next month.
We'll be here.
Council, while we get them teed up to present here, just all right. These were what's coming up are two workshop items that we were supposed to have as a workshop meeting tonight. So we'll have a little more workshop, a little less business this evening. But we've been trying to get them in for probably 6 months to come in and talk to y'all, so I appreciate them working. This is, we've gone through kind of the initial sit down and discussion with them, so we wanted to bring back and get council's input on looking. Our current wayfinding designs were done about 10, 12 years ago. Those, when we're referring to the yellow and kind of orangish red street signs, the wayfinding signs, and even the little maps in Old Town, wanting to look at, we're at the time where we need to either replace, update, or just update what we currently have, because like the lettering on the street signs don't meet reflective standards for DOT. They're starting to fade in a lot of the high sun areas. So we're due to either update them, or it gave us an opportunity to look at them and say, when we go to update them, do we want to look at ways to expand them and maybe update the look and maybe change, make them fit a little better for today, get input from council and get direction on where we wanted to go from there. So we've got Sky Design on here, and I think CJ is going to take the lead on it, and they're out of Atlanta, so we tried to save them a trip down here tonight and get them in virtually. So CJ, you're good to go.
Thank you all. Can y'all hear me okay on your end?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for your time. Mark, appreciate the wonderful introduction. I just want to introduce myself, CJ Wilson with Sky Design. I'm associate, been with the team 11 years. And on the call, I have two additional team members, Tiffany Chen, our vice president and the head of Sky Design, and Hillary Pickard, who will be helping us moving forward. And what we have on screen today is our schematic design package that we delivered to your town community last year. And we have a number of design options that we are hoping to get council's blessing and approval on one direction or some feedback of which we could then take our design into design development. So this package will walk us through how we arrived at where we are. So we began this journey with taking a site visit to your community to establish the overall city character and the overall experience of what it's like to be in the community, and try to traverse, getting from destination to destination, understanding where we are in context to the community boundaries. And that led us to then having a visioning session where we spoke with a couple of your community members, where we showed them a lot of imagery and had a long discussion, about a 90-minute discussion of how the signage and branding should evolve for your community. And what you see here on the screen is the smattering of the responses we received in that initial visioning. And there were three key things that stood out to our team that we wanted to carry over into the schematic design. Key one was we were not in love with the current color scheme of the existing signage that's in place today. Number two is that the signage that is there did not express the current branding that the community has gone through and was wanting to see that expressed in the new signage. And then three, that we wanted to incorporate some level of local materiality, some local pride in the signage package itself through the introduction of the use of the tabby concrete materiality. And that led us to then taking a look at the maps and understanding the community boundaries and recommending a couple of locations where we strategically like to place a primary welcoming moment to allow people, visitors, to know you have entered into this community, and that is the first impression of which a person will get. And all of the additional signage would be a reflection of this primary welcoming moment. And so without further ado, we have three options that we presented to the team. We had the first option, what we like to call Bluffton Elevated. This was the closest aligned to what is existing on the property or around the community today. Taking cues from what is there, we're really just looking to supplement your existing signage package, but add in that main welcoming moment that you just saw in the three locations. That's your boundaries. But taking some historical cues from key historic buildings and bringing that into the visual language of the signage monument itself in a very clear, communicated way. It's intended to feel very in place with the community. It's intended to have an impact and feel like it was always intended to be there and belong with the rest of the signage family itself. And see here, we have just the implementation of that oyster tabby concrete and the signage itself, and bringing in and weaving in the updated branding moments. But the critical aspect that differentiates this option from the other two that you're about to see is that this option opted to repurpose the existing signage that you already have throughout your community, adding just a new layer of paint to create a more cohesive alignment within the entire system itself, but give it that nice clean polish to make it more exciting and a little bit easier to read, just improving the contrast, adding in, as Mark had mentioned, the reflective vinyl, which will be all the areas shown in white here, so that we can improve the functionality of the signage system itself. And then option two was what we're calling oyster elegance. This takes a bit of the cues from the architectural language of the community itself. When we were walking through the community, we saw a lot of this shiplap style of building. And there was a lot of the oyster tabby concrete bricks and we saw that in a lot of the construction around the community itself. So we really wanted to celebrate both of those design motifs in the signage package itself, but in a much more modern and contemporary rectilinear form factor, but still having a level of organic feeling and intrigue infused into the signage family itself. And you can see here, improving the height and the overall experience of the wayfinding, getting through the community itself, really making this stand out. One thing that we had noted was the existing signage is very easy to miss when you're traveling through the community, just due to the abundance of vegetation. So just wanting to increase the amount of square footage of the sign itself so that we can improve the size and the distance of legibility of the messaging. You can see here just how these compare, much larger in scale. But as I had mentioned, if option 1 was utilizing the existing signage that's there, options 2 and 3 are looking at completely demoing the existing signage and reinstalling a brand new signage system across your community. And then last but not least, our option 3 is what we are calling wetlands minimal, a much more sculptural, abstracted approach towards the signage package, taking a lot of cues and reference from the wetlands and the winding moments of the natural elements there, and trying to weave those into the forms, but also alluding towards the coastal way of life that the town of Bluffton has. So, you know, you'll see a reference to what we're trying to align to a ship sail, and having some of these more nautical moments infused, but in a very abstract and not over the top, in your face way, into the signage. So you'll see here how we are starting to introduce these elegant winding sculptural moments to introduce the welcoming moment. And then how the abstracted down sail, boat sail, language starts to weave itself into the wayfinding messaging itself. Again, introducing larger panels so that we can have larger copy and maintain that dark background, reflective vinyl copy strategy. So that leads us to our 3 options. So again, we are hoping to get council's feedback on these 3 directions, you know, so that we can further push these sign systems into design development based off of your feedback or whichever direction your team prefers. And just wanting to close out with, you know, after we get your feedback, the next steps would be the design development, and to gather additional levels of feedback from your team, and then do another round of design development as needed before we go into the documentation of the full design intent. So a reminder, we are currently in the schematic phase, so we have a lot of opportunity to mold this to your preferences as we receive your feedback.
Thank you,
And
CJ.
happy to receive. Thank you.
So just to reiterate what you heard from them is, these are kind of, you can see they kind of vary from, I'm going to say, kind of conservatively based on what we have now into a little more artistic abstract as we go through. So there's a varying sets of options in there. Wanted to hear what council's input is so that we can then maybe amend, narrow down to one, try to continue to work through. If you like aspects of the one, but you also like aspects of the other, we can try to work with Sky Design to kind of merge those together, get to the, like he said, the 60% next set of schematics, bring those back, make sure we're on the right path, and then try to finalize something. The goal would be, should we continue to move forward, is to try to get this done this year's budget, and then the next year's budget look to start putting money aside to start phasing it into, whether it's updating the ones that we currently have and keeping what we have, if council's good with that, or that's the direction we want to go, or if we choose we want to change and go to a different design, start changing those out next budget year.
Comments from Mr. Wood?
Well, did I hear CJ say that they had spoken with people in the community? Staff.
He spoke to the staff within the town, yes, sir.
I'd be curious to what some of the business owners would voice an opinion on some of this. And I also think we should, even though they're not here this evening, it would be very simple for the other two council members to voice an opinion to you on this.
And I did send out the schematics early so that council had a chance, and for those two that wouldn't be here tonight, and I'll seek feedback from them as well.
And for me personally, with the three options available, I'm not a fan of number 3. I kind of like number 2, although where it says Bluffton, I would like to think underneath it could still say Heart of the Low Country. And then under number 2, I don't like the sign with the double post coming down, like that shows that one. Maybe one of those pull down from option 1, but that's just me, and that's why I wanted to hear more input from others. And I don't know what, if speaking with staff, what does staff lean towards?
So what our initial conversation with them, with staff, was to provide these 3 options. And we tried, like I said, we tried to range them from more abstract. And CJ, I don't know if you can go back to your original slide where you showed the different, like the visioning. So what you'll see is they kind of went through these 5 categories, and they were like, would the town be more minimalist or more maximalist? And so the examples you can kind of see, maximalist is it's very busy, it's audacious, it's going to draw your attention to it, versus minimalist is more, same thing with bold versus subtle. Like, do you want the word subtle, for example, I'd give is like Court Atkins sign, where when you drive by during the day, the words almost bleed in to the background, versus do you want your wording to stand out? And so we kind of went through, and what we did is with them, and this when they said they met with town, it was us, to go through and kind of say, where does our town kind of lean more on what we anticipate that we would want to see? And that's where they came back with these 3 designs and kind of gave the range from, we know you already like this because you have it in orange and yellow, or burnt or faded red and yellow now, to some of these alternatives. So that's where we took this to come to this point to see, again, are we on the right path or completely on the wrong path?
Fred, comments from you before I clog y'all up?
You want him to go back to the 3 options? Okay.
I really wish we had some business owners and some residents talking with the consultants on this, because I think they are who we're trying to please. Staff probably did do a good job of bringing these options. But at the end of the day, our goal is to make sure that we give the, and probably more importantly, the business owners a chance to have a weigh in on these options. The large sign, which is 1 and 2 right here, where would they go?
So the example he showed was at 278 and 170, where that interchange is up on the grass there, coming into town. That would be, because technically that is your entrance, and whenever you come in, that one corner on the side over there is the town of Bluffton, and the other 3 are not. So that would be your entrance on 278, where the south side's in the town.
That's like saying Sun City Hilton Head.
Well, not that bad. It's right a lot closer. Right past it.
And again, part of the conversation is, do you even want to see those? Or do you want us to stay where we're at? Right now, it's just an Old Town, and then there's some minor ones along the way to direct you to Old Town, or to, the bigger ones would be a new feature. Right now, we have the wayfinding signs that you see down there where it says Old Town Bluffton. Those are the ones you see out there near like New Riverside Trail. That's the scale and scope we have now. What they're proposing is a little bigger. Some of them are a little bolder. And
But the location could be altered at any time.
yes.
Yeah, I would think.
And again, the phase in could be that we replace the ones that currently exist now, and then we expand and do the bigger stuff, or look at the bigger stuff in the future. The input from from businesses, community, agree 100%. We wanted to get through this first step, because the last thing we want to do is sit down with them and give them 50 options to choose from and have them divided over 50 options. We would rather sit down with y'all and narrow down to 2 good options, so to say, and then go back to them and say, council is supportive of kind of looking at these. Give us your feedback, comments, because again, if you open it up to, too many options, we're going to end up split. And that's where we were hoping to get through this 30%, was to narrow down. So if that's the direction council wants to go, we can then sit down with some business owners, whether it's through the chamber, whether it's through Old Town Business Association, whether it's through different community organizations, and sit down and have some conversations with them.
I can't tell what option this is, but on the screen right now, on the top right, the middle sign is probably my favorite.
The green ones?
Yes.
And that's, again, very similar to what we have now. And it would be just updating the color scheme and the wording to match because again, these were all done pre our Heart of the Low Country rebrand, so this would bring them up to our current branding standards.
Whatever we decide to go with, I would personally like to stay who we are. These are beautiful, and they all have a place in somewhere. The designs, whether it's the modern one on number 3 or whatever, I appreciate and would totally want to think, the tabby look that we've insisted on our home builders to incorporate in their skirting and their steps and their sidewalks and all those things. I think should be carried on, because shows a little part of our history, along with the water. And I'm not saying this just because it's kind of my life, but we're not famous for a whole lot of things, so I would much rather it stay kind of in control or in vision of who we are, what we are, than like some big brand new Star Wars city that you're about to come into, so that's just me. Simple is good, old is better.
So just based on what I've heard from council tonight, it sounds like option 3 would be one that we would drop, and then maybe continue to hash out option 1, which includes the bigger new entry signs, and then kind of the repurposing, and then maybe look at option 2 for ways. I know we heard from Councilman Wood about whether the 2 posts, or whether that's too big or too much. Maybe hash that out a little bit to provide a couple options and get some feedback from the community, from our businesses and stuff, to see what their input is.
Yeah, I think that getting more input, this is part of our identity of who we are, and and it's a big move to improve what we do have. And so, yeah, I think when you get more feedback, that will lend more clarity to it and even help us out.
And the other 2 council members may come up with something that makes more sense than we were even seeing. So,
I also just didn't want to go and us go get comment, and then everybody love number 3, and council be like number 3.
No, I think you have a lot to work with 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, the other people may go, on number 2, they may like the double post sign. I'm not locked in on anything. I just like to hear more feedback.
And so if council's good with that, again, we're workshopping this. This is not asking y'all to make a decision tonight. Just really, again, what you've provided, which is direction forward. So what it sounds like, and we'll get with Sky Dance after this, or excuse me, Sky Dance movie, Sky Design, and work with them after this to hash out number 1 and 2 options a little more. I'll get with staff and we'll work on working with some business community groups. If you have any you recommend that you want us to get input from, I would ask that you let me know that. You don't have to tonight, but
Well,
like
I
said.
do. There's 2 business owners sitting right over there. I'd love you to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, Stephen, for us to make it, you know, Fred, the cost of things also matters. So if they come up with some type of,
This is beautiful right here, this is what we think we want, but it's 12 times more than what we have or whatever, you know, that could slow things down too, so just some kind of.
Agree. We'll make sure we work on that as well.
you know, Fred is and that stuff.
So the next time we bring it back to workshop with you, we'll be further along, have input, and hopefully come back with some options that are support that for business and community, and bring y'all something that you can approve. So,
Thank you.
thank you, CJ and team. I appreciate it. Well, and Mark and I will get back with you next few days.
Perfect. Thank you all for your time, and we appreciate all the feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, update and discussion related to proposed uses at the Buck Island Road Park.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, I'm here to give you an update on the public input we've received for the Buck Island Road Park. I'm going to flip through these pretty fast because in the interest of time, but you've seen these prior, and this is the site. It's located at Buck Island Road and Bluffton Parkway. It's 15.12 acres, and 8.53 of that is upland acreage. This was an image that I presented in the last meeting that showed what would fit on that 8.51 acres of upland acreage, and essentially this is an overlay superimposed of Oscar Fraser Park on top of the upland acreage at Buck Island Road Park. So everything south of the Rotary Center would fit, but obviously none of the ball fields would fit on the site. So when we started this project, we kind of met with a consultant, Wooden Partners, with the executive staff, and we kind of came up with things we thought might fit on the property, and those included a pavilion with restrooms, a small community building, playgrounds, multi-purpose field for pickup sports, but not necessarily a regulation size field. We also discussed the option of doing synthetic turf as opposed to natural grass as an option. Perimeter trails and boardwalks, sports court like basketball or volleyball, flexible play areas for lawn games like bocce and horseshoes and cornhole, and then pump track was another one that we talked about, and I presented that at the last meeting. I'll show you an image in a second. And then due to space and limitations and maintenance requirements, we discussed things that probably wouldn't work here, like a regulation size soccer fields or baseball complex, dog park, splash pad, high maintenance item, skate park. So the items that I kind of put an asterisk beside are items that we do not have in any of our other parks, like the synthetic turf fields or boardwalks, volleyball, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, pump track. These are things that would be new to this or unique to this park. And we try to do that on our parks, come up with at least one item that is unique to that particular park. And I won't go through these too much, but these are the images that we presented in all our public engagements to kind of give people a visual image of what we're proposing. These were the vertical structures like a small community center and picnic shelter, different types of fields, volleyball court, different types of multi-use trails, different types of play equipment, fitness, basketball, shelters, lawn games, zip line, and amphitheater. So those were the kind of the images that we used to kind of obtain public input. Back in March of 2025, this is what we presented to you in October, was the exercise that Stephen, Heather, and Kevin did when they invited to Career Day. They turned the table on them and asked them to get their opinion of what they'd like to see on the site. And they went through this exercise. They were each given 3 dots, and they were asked to put a dot on the image that they preferred at the park. The results of this was the top 10 items were sand volleyball court, artificial turf open space, zip line, playground equipment, wetland wildlife viewing, pump track, adventure free play, fitness equipment, and practice soccer field, and a covered basketball court. So those were the top 10 items from the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at the middle school. So at that time, you asked us to go out and get additional input from the adults in the room, and we went out, we advertised for an open house at the Rotary Center back in February. Unfortunately, we didn't get a whole lot of participation, but we got some information. We put them through the same general exercise of doing a dotmocracy, put dots on what you prefer. And the top items really from that group, which was mostly adults, was multi-purpose fields, either natural or artificial, basketball court, picnic shelters, and open space amphitheater. Those kind of the highest level. The next level down was indoor community center, playground equipment, outdoor fitness equipment, and zip line. And next level down would be wetland boardwalks, trails for jogging, walking. And then the last 3 items really didn't get a whole lot of interest from the whole group. So after that exercise, we tried to get another public input session organized at the school campus, the middle school, but unfortunately with the construction over the summer, we weren't able to do that. So we went a different route. We sent out surveys, 900 of them, to all the residents in Buck Island, Simmonsville, and Pinecrest. And this is, we sent out with a self-addressed stamp postcard that we asked them to, that we gave them an information sheet and this card, told them that it's already got postage on it, just send it back. And let me give you a copy of this so you can see what was sent. So we got over 200 responses, which is a pretty good response level for that. And it was pretty clear that the ranking of the different types of recreational uses, the trails were kind of the number 1, and nature, boardwalk, and wildlife viewing was the second most popular item. If you look at this survey, it was more of a high interest to low interest. They were asked to kind of rank them. If it's something they really strongly wanted to see, they put it at extremely needed, or if they didn't want to see it at all, they could put not at all. So the first 2 columns on the left really are kind of the high interest items, and then the 2 columns on the right are the low interest items, and then somewhat is kind of a take it or leave it kind of opinion. So the trails were important, nature, access to nature was important, kind of the next level down was play for zip line, open space, playground. Those kind of things were important, but not as much as those first 2 items. And then kind of the next level down from that would be the sports courts, and then community facilities like the stage, the meeting facility, and the picnic shelters. So, and then of course the leisure activities were kind of not ranked very high at all. So I tried to synthesize, or summarize. Oh, wait, one more item. They were asked at the bottom if they had something else they wanted to see at the park, they could write it in at the bottom. And this is a kind of a splatter word chart of things that were mentioned, but unfortunately, most of them were only mentioned once. Pickleball, the dog park, and the splash pad had 3 people that had actually requested those things. So out of the 200 surveys, it's pretty low level of statistical significance of what these words were in terms of, so we didn't really get anybody that said, there was something like 30 people that said, I want to have a pickleball court. So it wasn't really significant what the write-ins really had to say to us. So to summarize this, I think it was pretty clear that the open fields and flexible play, the multipurpose trails, the playgrounds, and the boardwalk and observation decks were kind of a consensus of all three surveys of things that they wanted to see at the park. Again, the next level down, which we saw some support, but not, I wouldn't say a clear consensus for the sports courts, the pump track, the picnic shelters, and the community center. I'll come back to this slide in a second, but I do have some questions I'd like for you to provide input back to us so that we could kind of incorporate it into the conceptual design of the park. First one is, and I'm just going to read through these and I'll go back to that summary so you can look at that as well. Does Town Council agree to proceed with planning for the recreation uses suggested in the public engagement summary? That's the previous slide I just talked about. Are there any features that you would like to see in the park that haven't really currently been suggested in that survey? And do you think a small community center is needed at this location? And if yes, how would you see it being used or managed? And then the last one is related to phasing of the project. This project's probably going to be a $6 or $7 million project. So do you want to do it all at once, or do you want to do it in phases like we've done at some of our parks? We've done it both ways. So let me go back to that summary, and then maybe you can kind of address those questions individually.
So, just for clarity, can you go back to the ballot, the voting ballot, or whatever the survey results?
This one?
Yeah. Would I be right on saying that if you took the first three votes and added them together, and then added the last two together to put against those?
Yeah, compare.
You know what I'm saying? Because extremely, very, or somewhat are all people that are interested or for
Right.
that commodity.
Mm-hmm.
And not much and not at all are the ones that could care less if it was there or not. Right?
That's true.
Okay.
From left to right, it's high interest to low interest. And,
but the three.
Yeah.
The three numbers, the three first numbers really paints a picture on what the people are saying, I think. Okay.
Yeah, the further you get down the list, horizontally, you see a little less interest in those specific categories.
Right. Yays and nays. Okay, you can go back to your other.
So, you agree with this list of items here for recreational amenities at the Buck Island Road Park?
Put the question back up there, I guess. The first question is everything?
Well,
Dan?
yeah, so you first started, you were looking at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I believe is what you said in your summary. And then you went and you got to find out what the children wanted. 500-something children, I think, responded, correct? Mm-hmm. So you have that information. And then we took it and we engaged the adults with it. And so some of that information doesn't exactly match, but that's right. So we went from what do the kids want to what do the adults want. Is that a fair assessment?
Kids wanted a volleyball court, and the adults would rather see a basketball court.
So, yeah, I see a disconnect. And when I think about the parks that we have, for example, our Diamond in the Rough out there is the one at the Riverside. You know, that's a children's park. In some of the parks, what we have so far, when I look at Dubose, because I use the parks, I've got grandchildren, I've used them from the time they've come up and so forth. Dubose is, to me, more little children, younger kids. Oscar Frazier offered a little bit more. in my opinion. My kids would get bored at Dubose. I'd take them over to Oscar Frazier. There's a little more romp room around there, and it's different. And then, we got the one at Buckwalter, which again, I think applies itself to younger children. And then we have the one out at New Riverside, which seems to be a little of a crossbreed, or not bred with, because of the zip line and a few things. But mostly what I've seen are the younger children using the parks. Is that a fair assessment?
Right.
Okay. So I'm just trying to be sure that, I don't know what council's wanting, but, maybe there's a way to complement adults with the children, but I want to stay focused on the children, number one. And so I don't know what all that means based on your top criteria.
That would be this group right here. The original Bluffton Middle School survey.
Based on this survey, with your top, say your top 4 or 5 numbers, and then you did the adult survey, how many of those survived in the adult survey?
See, what you have to keep in mind too, Dan, is those small kids that you see at New Riverside Park, their parents are bringing them there. Where you have bigger kids that would be visiting and playing or hanging out with themselves or their peers. So the amenities that we have at New Riverside Park, the adults like them too. Because those moms and dads, while those kids are rolling up and down the hill, they got to find a place to get out of the sun or.
No, I'm not saying
You know what I'm saying?
I understand you can't have a
That's
park.
a combo.
Right. You can't have a park without a place for everybody to sit. I get that. And I'm just trying to be sure. And then the other part that I didn't understand, because again, when you said 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, that's a little bit older group, which is fine by me. That's something totally a little more mature for some of the kids, but that's a little bit older group than these other parks that we have.
Well, they're the age group that we don't have enough for them.
Correct. That's correct.
That's the ones on the e-bikes. So we need to give them an option.
Anyway, that's really all I have. And then the other thing that stuck out of my mind, and I'm jumping ahead of you, was the community center question. I think we'll have to talk about that.
Okay.
So just, if I can, Mayor, to answer the original question you asked, I think the only thing from the youth survey that did not make it in the adult survey was the sand volleyball courts. That was the top thing on the youth survey, but it was like in the 4th tier on adults where the volleyball and basketball court was. So I think that's really the only casualty from the youth to all the other surveys we did was just the sand volleyball court. If we wanted to, which if you remember in the original, that's what I'm looking for, the rendition or workshop that we did, I think that was in there. So, I mean, there's room if it's something the council wants to.
You could do all three,
We
right?
we could do that, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Hamilton?
My input is a lot different from what I'm hearing. The reason why we even purchased this property is because the residents of Buck Island and Somerville saying you built it everywhere else except here. So why are we entertaining what?
What you say you send the survey to Pinecrest?
Why are you sending it to Pinecrest?
That's pretty close by to this park. It's within walking distance.
Border the one side of it.
Think of that.
It's a different community. It's a different community, though. Plus, we also said that, I mean, my point is, we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for the complaint that we got from Buck Island and Somerville residents.
Yeah, it's something that's in the Buck Island Simmonsville plan, and we're acting on it. We're actually going for a park in that
But when
area.
we did the Buck Island and Somerville neighborhood conversation, we didn't invite Pinecrest.
I guess it's a judgment call on my part.
By then too, we didn't invite them to this meeting.
I think we had an internal.
I attend the majority of those meetings. They weren't invited.
I guess I'll take the fall on that. I felt like it was a community that was
But
within.
you shouldn't have to take the fall because sometimes staff gets ahead of council. and this is one of those times, I think. So we should always be a part of the conversation when you change before you change the concept. That's the way it works. Staff, council is the go-to before staff makes the change. Next, I believe also that building pump tracks may be a problem for the e-bikes, and because now we know better, it's time to do better. We're inviting the same problem that we're trying to solve. Because every day we get calls about concerned about e-bikes, and right now Dan is one of the people that's trying to figure out how to solve that problem. I think it's also now a state problem. I don't have a problem with kids being kids, but I have a problem with the safety aspect that we can't seem to manage. Okay. One of the surveys shows when adults ask for stuff like pickleball, I don't want to certify adults. I mean, parks is not for adults unless it's a nature trail. Or we have, and we don't need to build parks for adults other than nature trails or picnic tables and maybe a pavilion, if you will. But kids has always been the focus when we talk about building parks. I want to stick to that. Okay. For now, I'm going to rest.
May I jump in? Again, you haven't commented yet. I was gonna say that I like the comment on the pump track, because I first liked the idea at first, but your point's well made. But I did see something that Hilton Head was doing, and I don't know what it means. They're doing a new park, and they had a pump pedal or pump.
I think that's the same thing.
Same thing?
Yeah, and we'll find out really quick whether or not.
No, I just didn't know what they were saying. I didn't have a clue. And I concur, Mr. Hamilton.
Okay, Mr. Rooney, so what do you want to know?
Okay, well, on the list that's in front of you right now, the pump track sounds like that's something you would rather pass
Let's
on.
pump the brakes on the pump track.
There you go.
Let's cut the wire, slow that one down.
But, open field, that's kind of was something that was, for flexible play, that was kind of in all surveys, seemed to be rated high. Multipurpose trails, that's something seemed to be rated high in all surveys. Playground too. The one thing that was new, kind of unique to this one, is because we have some wetlands here, and maybe engage those wetlands, and do some boardwalks and an observation deck into the wetlands. So those first four items I saw as kind of a consensus from the surveys that we took.
And the one thing about the open field, if we leave it open and we want to do something down the road, whether it's more playgrounds, swing sets, or whatever, you can still do it. You know what I mean? Down 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah, well, parks always seem to evolve over time. Sure. And then the next four items, the sports courts, kids wanted volleyball. They mentioned covered basketball as well in the top 10, so that was a kid thing. The pump track's out. Picnic shelters with grills, that came up more with the adults, which I think that's an item that Fred mentioned, something that they would want to use. And then, of course, the community center is something I guess we're going to talk about later. But where I am is trying to get to a point where I can let a wooden partner do some conceptual design so that we can kind of come back to you with a plan that shows these items on a piece of paper.
Well, I would think, because I spend a little time at the parks as well, the picnic shelters and grills, that's birthday party all over. You know? And that's, you know, that's not gonna come from the kid. The kids are there to play and eat, and that's what they do until they get to a certain age. So that's coming from the parents, but it's a very sensible request. I mean, it's needed. It will be used.
And it's one of those things, just even like at Oscar Frazier, we're putting a new one in because it doesn't matter how many you have, it never seems to be.
Right, I know. Right. And even for y'all who don't get up real early in the morning, if you want to give somebody a birthday party, like at New Riverside, you better be there at daylight. If you want one of those shelters and areas to put your party stuff on the table, you better get there before daylight because there's people already there.
The word you're using, picnic shelter, is the same as a pavilion?
Yeah, that's okay. Just want to be sure I understood.
Originally we had a pavilion with restrooms, similar to the Bose, similar to Oscar Frazier. But these might be smaller pavilions scattered throughout.
Right. I think that's more effective, the smaller scattered, so that more families and more groups of kids can use them at the same time. Seems like. Okay, now what you want to know?
So, okay, single phase versus multiple phase. You want me to?
At this point, until you know what you're going to build,
We don't know how much it's going to cost.
you don't know how much it's going to cost.
If we can afford it, we'll build it all and get it over with.
Okay, I'll ask that question next time.
No need to stretch it out if we don't have to, but if we have to, that's life too.
Give me an idea of the rendition you showed about pavilion versus the community center. Have you priced those out?
Well, the pavilion we're putting in right now is a small 25 by 25 pavilion at Oscar Frazier is 178,000 plus contingency right now. So that's a small pavilion. The one that if you want to do a larger one that includes restrooms like this one in the bottom picture here, 250 probably and up, probably 300. Because of plumbing and all associated with that.
I, for one, and I'm just speaking for myself, these pavilions or picnic shelters, whatever you want to call them, like Larry just said, they're very popular. Lots of competition for them. I would think there would be a need for restrooms out there myself. Yeah.
You gotta have restrooms and everything. Yeah.
So maybe one large pavilion with restrooms and then smaller ones scattered.
Kind of like we have at New Riverside. I think those work pretty good the way it looks to me. Something you can have 10 or 12, 15 kids eat ice cream off a bench or whatever. Or a cake.
I think you're good, Pat.
Okay, good. I appreciate it. Thanks for your comments.
Okay. Up next, we have formal agenda items. We have consideration of an ordinance for certain amendments to the Town of Bluffton's Municipal Code of Ordinance, Chapter 23, Unified Development Ordinance, Article 3, Application Process, Section 3.18, Certificate of Appropriateness, and Sections 3.19, Site Feature Historic District Permit related to relocation and demolition of non-contributing resources in the Old Town Bluffton Historic District. And Mr. Dan, this is Mr.
Riker.
We got
Mr. Frazier was going to be here last week, because I was going
we
to
got the one-armed bandit up here.
Yeah, yes you did. So don't ask me to write anything down.
We're here for the first reading for an amendment to update the UDO as it reflects the demolition of non-contributing resources. If you guys remember, we brought this to you as a workshop. We wanted to see that we were having some concerns previously because of the amount of time that it was taking for an individual if they needed to demo a structure that was not contributing. They had to go through a full certificate of appropriateness process. If you guys remember, I showed you a chart how some of those were taking 75, 80, 90 days to go through this process in order for something that we knew that it's not historic. So while it's a part of the fabric of the community, it's not as important as the other structures that we have. So what we've done is we've come back, we've looked to change some of the code as it relates to, and I'll show it to you here in a second, as it relates to the process that you have to go through. So instead of going through a certificate of appropriate process, which is 60+ days, we've now changed this to what we refer to as a site feature. It's still it's an administrative process. It's 5 days. As you know, we just updated our historic resource survey, so we know what structures are out there, what structures are important to us. So if someone were to come in and it's a non-contributing resource, we've already established that, we're good with it. By going through this site feature process, our town historian, Glenn, he'll be able to review it to make sure that there's no issues with it. So it's a checks and balances of that aspect of it, as opposed to just getting a demolition permit. So from a code standpoint, previously, or as currently we have it set up for that certificate of appropriateness historic district, and it says for non-contributing resources, what we're doing is we're taking that section out of just specifically for non-contributing resources, leaving the numbers in there, because if we start messing with the numbers and the sections, everything gets messed up. So it says C section 319 site feature historic district permit. From there, what we do is that the applicability aspect for site feature, we've added number 6 where it says demolition of a non-contributing structure. So you fill out your site feature permit. We're going to look at that. These are the criteria that we're going to be looking at. So we say for the review criteria, we're making sure that for demolition of non-contributing structures, you just need to provide the construction date, history of ownership, uses if known, and then the property survey if available. So that's the information we'll then use as part of that site feature. We'll go through there, and then we can then approve that site feature permit, which then gives them the ability to pull the building permit, aka a demolition permit. So when you fill out a building permit, it has a little area where you can click to do a demolition. So that's what that is. So it's a checks and balances. It cuts that time frame from 60+ days down to a 5 business day review. And with that, from our review criteria, I met all the review criteria that we have in place. Your actions tonight are to approve. This is first reading. You can approve as we have shown. If you want some additional amendments, or to just deny this and still continue to have the process that we have. From the step standpoint, we're here for first reading. We intend that if this were to move forward, it would come back to you in the August meeting with a final reading and public hearing. And I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Wood?
I'm just glad to see us simplify the process. It's been painful over the years and just thrown out affair, and it's back where it needs to be with the right people that are making the decision.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry you have to make the decision while you're wounded. But I like it.
Yes, very good. Thanks, sir.
All right. And I have no comment on
Okay.
that. Moving
And I have a proposed motion for you.
So is this our?
Yeah, you can move to approve with changes, or deny. So just pick.
Somebody like to make a motion?
I move to approve the, what's showing on the screen, on the approved side.
Okay.
I wonder who that's going to be. I second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Marshall. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. Up next, we have our consent agenda. Anyone on my council like to pull anything or discuss any items?
Nothing for me.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Up next, we'll go into executive session for discussion and negotiations regarding the contractual agreements and proposed sale, lease, or purchase of property pursuant to Freedom of Information Act 30-4-7B A2, related to property usage in the Ghost Road right-of-way, related to contractual matters of proposed land acquisition in the area within the Buckwalter BUD, and legal advice related to potential resolution pursuant to Freedom of Information Act 30-4-782. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We are executive session. was taken, but we will have action now from Mayor Pro Tem Hamilton.
Motion to come out of executive session.
I make a motion requesting that the town attorney to draft and deliver written correspondence reflecting the town's desire to require compliance with the UDO as it relates to the use of a ghost road.
Second?
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
So second.
Beat you every time.
Yep.